Welcome to the Golden Grail, the rise of the Magdalene witches, summer solstice, soul gathering. Our chalice for the voice of the Magdalenes to be shared. Because we made a pact to return, and with the wisdom teachings intact, now we share them. And I'm your creator and host, Eimear Stassin, and I hope you enjoy each and every one of these unique, soulful conversations. Now let's dive in. I'm so delighted to welcome today's soulful speaker, Marguerite Rigoglioso. Hi, Marguerite.
Hi, Eimear. Great to be with you again.
Yes, thank you for saying yes again and being part of this, because you are the foremost authority on the history of the Virgin Birth, the author of the bold new award-winning The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception, Mary and the Lineage of the Virgin Births. And I'm so excited to dive into your title, which is Becoming the Living Magdalene.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
It just gives me chills.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are the Gnostic mysteries of the Magdalene?
You know, they've been lurking around there in the ancient literature, both the literature accepted as canonical by the certain institution that shall remain unnamed, as well as these so-called Gnostic Gospels that have been unearthed. And when I started studying Magdalene, this was, a couple of decades ago, I didn't look at it in terms of her mysteries, but when I recently taught about her, I realized that all of the material about her consolidates into what I call 7 mysteries, essentially. And you could divide it or multiply it however you wish. There could be more, but I discern 7 mysteries, 7, inner plane mysteries that she is kind of either a spearheader for, or they, in a very big way, were manifested in her life. So that's like the short story of what this is all about. And each of them, by the way, contains codes and information for how we can all incorporate these mysteries into our lives to have our own spiritual acceleration.
Amazing. And what are these 7 mysteries, or do you want to go into that at this stage?
Yeah. I can name them off, and then we can see which ones we want to go into. So one is the mystery of anointing and sacred oils for opening inner consciousness. Magdalene was definitely involved with something around what they call myrrh. She was considered in the ancient literature one of the myrrh-bearing women. And we can look at what that means. There is the mystery of sacred marriage for accomplishing divine birth and activating Kundalini power. So this sacred marriage mystery is embodied in her life, in her lore, her history. There's the mystery of the bridal chamber for achieving what I call the Christ Sophia light within. And so while the sacred marriage is more of a partnership, the bridal chamber can be considered an inner process, all right, an inner alchemical process. We have the mystery of Mary love, Mary being an ancient Egyptian term, which we can go into. And this love, this mystery of love for activating our sacred heart, very important part of the Magdalene mystery. The mystery of sacred sisterhood as support for shepherding the new awakening. and the mystery of transforming demons for healing ourselves in this lifetime and beyond. And finally, what I call the mystery of bringing heaven to earth. And Magdalene had a process, according to the legends about her, whereby she was doing this on a daily basis. So that's the outline of these mysteries. And we can go into any one of them in more depth.
Wow, that is so beautiful. So beautiful, all of them. The one that did actually, mystery number 4, the Mary line, or Mary love.
Yeah.
And that Egyptian connection, that seemed to do something for me.
A lot of energy for you.
Ignited, yeah, ignited something. Yeah.
Well, let's dive into it. So as I've been writing about in my book, The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception that you mentioned, and as I've been teaching about in a couple of different courses, one is the Mother Mary Mystery Teachings, that's an on-demand course. And the other one is the 7 Mysteries of Magdalene course, which people can access. It's on demand. I discuss that this has to do with the name Mary that's come down to us as Mary, M-A-R-Y, which originally in the Aramaic of the time would have been Mariam, in the Hebrew, Miriam. And when you break it down and you poke around a little bit in ancient Egypt, and this I learned in a book, Christ in Egypt, I believe it's called, by D.M. Murdoch. Yeah, Christ in Egypt. She's the one who unearths this scholarship, saying that this name probably came from the Egyptian term MR. That is, they didn't have vowels, is my understanding. So it would have appeared in the hieroglyphics or whatever it was as MR, and transliterated as MR or sometimes MRY. And when you insert a vowel, that's Mary. And MERI is how it's transliterated. And darn it, wouldn't you know, what does it mean? It meant divine love, essentially. And when used as a name or a title, it meant the beloved of, like the deity, the beloved of the divine, the one who loves, and kind of the loving or the love itself. So it was like a triple power name that what I figured out was it originally wasn't a name, it was a title. And it originally was a priestess title. So, and I think it had a strong connection to Isis ultimately, because when it was used as a priestess title, like, or priest title in front of people's names, like the pharaohs oftentimes would have the Mary in front of their name, it would mean beloved of Isis. Beloved of Isis, Pharaoh, Joe Smith. Okay, that's how the name would appear. So this combines divine love, being loved. There's an element of heart love, but there's also an element of sensuality or sexual love in there as well, beloved of. And Isis is in there, who, according to Steiner, and this really rings true for me, Rudolf Steiner, the great seer, he said that Isis was the incarnation of the being that was known as Mother Mary in her final incarnation. So Isis was Mother Mary's own incarnation prior to her lifetime as Mother Mary, in which she gave birth to Jesus. And in her lifetime as Isis, she was already exploring divine birth through how she conceived Horus in a miraculous way, okay, without Osiris's sperm. He was already dead, on the other side, but there's a whole mystery associated with that. So it's connected to divine birth as well, miraculous conception. And most importantly, you know, we look at, all right, what does it mean to carry the title of love, right? Well, it means you're a priestess of love, which these beings, these great masters, embodied as well, but which we're meant to embody and activate and transmit and, you know, carry. And Mary Magdalene was a great carrier of love. And in my course, The Seven Mysteries of Magdalene, I enumerate many of the ways that show us how Mary Magdalene was a priestess of love.
Wow. That's so beautiful. All the connections and her name and the title, which I absolutely feel myself. That is the individual and the title that we're being called to uphold the gold in that. That's and right. Also, as your title is, that becoming that living Magdalene. And honestly, I feel so much, it's like this deep love and reverence for rebirthing her for the times that we're in. That's
exactly. You know, that's because she has such a deep love for us still on the other plane, on the other side. Both of the Marys do. In fact, all three of the Marys do. What I talk about is there were three who walked around Jesus according to this Gnostic material. One was Mother Mary, one was Mary Magdalene, and one was the third Mary, who was actually Mother Mary's sister. That's a whole mystery in and of itself. She wasn't originally named that, but she came to be named Mary. Probably she was given that priestess title by their mutual mother, Anne. And there are many other Marys in the New Testament and so forth, including going back to Miriam, the sister of Moses and Aaron, I believe. So, and she is described basically as being a high priestess too. You know, she carried the timbrel and that sort of thing. She was a really high level woman. So these Marys running around the Bible, the various Bibles they're priestesses. You know, it's indicating to us that this was the order of the Marys, the sacred order of the Marys, as I call it. And again, any kind of title honorific like this can become a personal name in time. As we know, anything can become a personal name in time. But it was an identifier for these women as love priestesses.
Wow, that's so gorgeous. One of our other speakers, she was talking about the Irish keen, like the lament, the grief ritual, and she sung part of, there's a lament for the three Marys. And
God, that is giving me major chills right now. Ah, woo!
Yeah, it was really beautiful. And the three Marys that were there at the foot of the cross during the crucifixion.
Basically, it's those Marys, you know, it's those Marys. So amazing.
Yeah, it really is
coming together, right?
Yeah, I love that. And her name's Mary as well, actually. Mary McLaughlin. That's the,
you know. Yeah, my middle name is Mary. I took it as a confirmation name under duress, but then most recently I'm happy about it, actually.
Oh, so is mine. I took Mary as a confirmation.
All right. Yeah, you know, and I was just like, God, why am I getting pressured into having this name? But now, I see it in a new way. Yeah,
that's gorgeous. Gorgeous. And the topic of sisterhood as well has woven through this.
Yes. Well, shall we go into that one a bit more?
Yeah, we can do. And also the transforming demons. I'm like, I want to go into all of them, but I know we don't, you know, there isn't time for that. But yeah, the demons part kind of caught my
of course it did.
Like edge to it.
yeah, because you know, we've got our eye on this stuff. And also, of course, everyone can hear more about these seven mysteries in the free gift that goes along with this this video that we're doing called What Are the Seven Mysteries of Magdalene? All right. Oh, so they will all be elaborated upon. So do you want to go into the sisterhood mystery or the demon mystery?
Shall we go to demons, from love to demons?
Yeah, and before anybody gets too nervous, it's like, well, guess what? Most of us have them attached to us. We might call them entities, right? And so what we see in both the New Testament accounts as well as the Gnostic material, Mary Magdalene was definitely having experiences with negative entities. In the New Testament, we're told that Jesus depossessed her of 7 demons. And that basically doesn't mean that she's any more or less evil than anyone else. It just means that, like most of us, she had entity attachments, which come along with, unfortunately, coming into the earth plane at this time in our history, with the level of trauma that we have, and with the energies that have been set upon us that are, they have agendas and they feed off the human race. So whenever anyone flies into a rage, whenever anyone has an addiction that they can't control, compulsions, murders anyone, commits sexual violation, that is all governed by entity attachments. And even our trauma responses to life have entities attached to them that stoke it up, right? So this is what we're talking about. And Magdalene was lucky enough to have Jesus with her, but Jesus is still doing exorcisms every day of the week for anyone who calls on him. And so that she had a direct experience of being released of these energies so that she could move forward with her ministry. And then in the Gnostic Gospel of Mary, which is the only gospel we have, which is about a woman, aside from the infancy gospel of James, which is really about Mother Mary's life. Those are the 2 gospels about women, these 2 Marys. So in this Gospel of Mary Magdalene, essentially, there's a whole teaching, an esoteric teaching that Jesus gives Mary Magdalene that she then shares with the apostles with mixed reviews, because they're all like, this sounds really weird. And, Peter gets all up in arms, like, why would he give you alone this information? Is this really true? And she's like, cries. And she's like, do you think I'm making this up? But anyway, what Jesus tells her, and it's implied that this happens after his crucifixion and resurrection. So this is like on the inner planes. He's come to her and he's taught her about the sequence of events that a person's soul will go through when it crosses over out of the body and onto the other side. It's essentially like the 7 gates of the underworld. And the human being will encounter a force at each gate that will test it. And these forces have been called the adversaries, even the archons. And we see this name, the archons, described in some of the other Gnostic materials. Who are they basically? The negative ETs that are of the current disclosure understanding. Our lizard friends, for example, for anybody who's tuned into that whole thing, and so forth. The fallen angelic energies and how they've manifested. So Jesus is telling her that the human being will go through meeting these things that give a terrible pronouncement at each door, telling the human how awful it is and how it's committed these sins and that sins. And there's a code word, that the person is supposed to remember and say, which is basically, no, that is not the essential nature of who I am. Be gone with you and let me pass. And as soon as the person claims that, they get to the next gate until they are complete with this journey. And as I see it, this is not just a journey when your soul is on the other side, but this is kind of a typical descent journey that we can go through in this lifetime when we have a dark night of the soul and so forth. So we have to remember who we really are, which is a divine human, or an anthropos, as they would call it in the Greek terminology, the anthropos. So that's a little bit about that mystery. And again, I do talk about that more in the course, and then what it means for us. How do we engage this material and for our benefit and our strengthening and our stepping into our angelic human anthropos form?
Yeah. And the importance of that now in this life, right. And really across all timelines in our future reincarnations, if we decide to come back, or, past reincarnations. It's so important. And that it's not all love and light on the other side either.
No, that's the thing. I mean, these people who incarnated as the Holy Family and that whole group, they were dealing with this right and left. That is, in fact, why they came to the planet, this sector of the universe, because they knew what we were up against. They knew that we were possessed and intertwined with these beings, and that it had been really even violations of cosmic law to some degree, and a very, very contested and controversial history that's generally hidden from our understanding and our eyes. But they knew that this was going on, and that's why they made the great sacrifices that they did to come into this level of the reality, to go through these negative dramas and things like that, to clear energies for people and so forth. So that, when they say that Jesus came to save us from our sins or whatever, it's like, no, the whole Holy Family came to release us from these negative energies and help us move into our ascension.
Ascension, yes.
Once and for all.
Yeah.
And Magdalene was part of the mission. Mother Mary, Jesus, John the Baptist, Grandmother Anne, and all the male consorts that were involved. Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist, her consort, Zechariah, there's a retinue of like 7-8 people. And not to mention the apostles and so forth.
Yes.
And all the women who are hardly named. All we hear is like the 12 apostles, the guys. But Mary Magdalene headed the women's retinue. Okay. That's a whole story that needs exposure. And that I'm talking about in my forthcoming, as of this filming, my forthcoming book for 2024 about Mother Mary's hidden life from us. Okay.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And I talk about her relationship with Magdalene in a much deeper way.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Feel a second interview coming on next year.
Yeah, next year. All right, Eimear, we'll be together for that one.
That's amazing. Amazing. So, I mean, it is no wonder then that her energies and the Magdalene energies are so strong at this time.
Yes.
But how can we call upon her to support us beyond this 3D realm that we're in?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, we can call upon both of them and any of the Holy Family at any time for whatever our plea is, our request, our prayer. It can be personal healing. It can be physical healing. It can be relief from, emotional torment, right? Clearing of trauma, and ultimately the activation of our Christ Sophia Source Creator Light Body. So, one thing that I have people do in various ways in that 7 Mysteries of Magdalene, and in, my Mother Mary, my Mary and Magdalene empowerment circle that runs once a month on a Thursday. I have people merge with these beings in different ways, different chakras or the whole chakra system. I personally invite Mother Mary to merge her chakras and her light body with mine every day. And then I invite Mary Magdalene to merge her holy womb chakra with mine from navel to vulva, and to activate within me the highest vibration of reality that is accessible to me through our divine DNA, right? So to continue that practice of amplifying your light body or healing various parts, removing tags, implants, programs, softening and opening our sacred heart. That's a big one. You just have to call on them, bring them into your mental thought, bring them into your meditations, and ask them for specific things, And if you don't know what is the visualization to do, say, Mary Magdalene, could you please help me with this particular problem that I have? Or please provide insights, or please inspire me, impulse me with tools or understandings or processes. And you cultivate a relationship with these great masters. That's one way, because they're here to help us heal, but just so that we can elevate ourselves to who they are. They're just mirrors of who we are. And they are pretty clear about that. They're really not meant to be worshiped and seen as separate, apart, hallowed, and outside of us. They're meant to be templates for what we can do for ourselves, to be at the level that we actually already are, but don't know that we are. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. It's like beautiful, loving prayers to call on these energies. And I was thinking then, when we're inviting these energies in, how do we know that we're inviting the purest of these energies into our space?
You can ask for the true Mother Mary of love, light, and wisdom, or the true Magdalene of love, light, and wisdom, or the true Jesus of love, light, and wisdom to come to you. And you can say, any other beings are commanded to leave my space. Okay. And then you work with your trust and your intuition about what they're telling you, the messages you're getting. Are they for your wholesome healing and benefit and that of others, or are they starting to tell you weird things? If they're telling you weird things, they're probably not them, or they're being hijacked and being used, or there's an energy connected with them that's coming through. So, because lots of people call on these beings and justify all sorts of things, saying, well, the Bible says this, or Jesus told me that, blah, blah, blah. Before you know it, you've got like a religious war in the Middle East or whatever. And so it's really about the personal growth, integrity, and healing, so that you are in alignment with the greatest good. Because you can use any of this information to justify anything according to where you are. And they're saying, the Gnostic Gospels tell us, the Gospel of Philip, it's really interesting. He has in there, you'll see them at whatever level you are. So you can do one of two things. You can raise your own level, and then you'll see them at a higher level. Or you can see them at a higher level, and then that will reflect and start activating within you that higher level of understanding. So it's kind of like a figure eight that can go on. It's a process.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's really, that's been a big part of my journey of coming back into my body to really trust the intuition, the feeling, and get to know myself as well, to connect with all the support that's available to us.
Exactly. And you'll know that you're in the right sphere when there's love, when there's a feeling of unconditional love with this being or from this being. That is the highest vibration. And it's also the vibration that automatically sends away anything else that isn't love, beings, intelligences, entities, because they don't like that vibration. So they don't like to be around it. And so love, cultivating love, stimulating love within you, for yourself especially, for others, for our world, is a very great protective mechanism. So it's not only nourishing and fulfilling in and of itself, right? Because you feel better, you draw better things to yourself, and so forth, but it's a protection.
Yeah. So
those are some of the heart mysteries associated with all of this.
Yeah, that is so gorgeous.
Mm.
Wow. And I feel like we do need to speak about sisterhood and
all
sacred
right.
sisterhood. If you'd like to go into that, because this is what we're reclaiming, because our circles, our covens were torn apart brutally. We were suppressed in such traumatic ways. So this is a reclamation of the sacred sisterhood.
Exactly. I mean, these iconic forces that I referred to earlier, the negative ones, know that dividing and conquering is a very good war tactic for them. So it sets people apart and at each other's throats. It dissolves alliances that would create exponential power, that would threaten them, And so they had to first separate out the male-female bond, and then they had to separate out human unity bonds and respect for groups within a group and among groups and so forth. And of course, they had to set men upon each other and women upon each other. So we're all coming out of this, and it's a tough one, because those programs and codes and tags are so deeply within us. It came through our genetic lines and relationships with people that we observed. It's in our epigenetics, like we absorbed it into ourselves, all these dysfunctional patterns and so forth. And so there's a great sisterhood wound. And women will come across this in many different ways. It could be your mother's jealous of you, you're jealous of your mother, your sister's jealous of you, you're jealous of your sister. There's envy or enmity that comes in among like-minded women in a group, a vying, a competition for supremacy. There's enmity among differences, women who hold differences, different energies. And before you know it, there's backstabbing and, all of that stuff. The group dissolves. And this is something for people to be aware of, that when we start to go into the intentional community, watch out. That's where the adversaries love to come in and swoop and get everybody all angry and divided up. So we know that that's just there. And we have to call on these masters, continue our inner healing so that we're not as susceptible to those hooks, those snares, those angers, those suspicions, those jealousies, right? And so this is where Mother Mary and Magdalene really come in. They model, and with the sister Mary, they model collaborative sisterhood. Because check it out. I mean, Mother Mary was the mother of Jesus. She was like the head woman on the planet, essentially. And then through whatever karmic contracts they had, I think they knew they were all going to encounter one another and have to deal with the politics of all that status and everything. So enter Magdalene, who I think was always a kind of a priestess in her own right, but she became a student to Mother Mary. And possibly Jesus as well. And I think they all kind of became sister and brother teachers to one another. It was never just a one-way street. And then as the development of the mentee would happen, that person would become an equal with the mentor. And then they would have a new development there, right? Instead of eternally keeping it in the power over, teacher-student relationship. And that's what I talk about in this course, The Seven Mysteries of Magdalene, how Mother Mary and Magdalene worked this out. And also consider the possibility that Mary Magdalene was married to Jesus. And if not, she was a key partner. And Mother Mary would have been her mother-in-law. Now, how many times in cultures all over the world are women and their mother-in-laws at odds? Because the mother-in-law is jealous of the son's attachment to the wife. And oh my God, there sometimes can be horrible abuse around that. So these women talked about their connection as two sisters. And then the three of them, the three Marys, it was like a triad, a power triad that they maintained. And again, it's really fascinating to go in and look at the details of what is the evidence for this, in the text. And then, but honestly, Eimear, the thing that I received that was the most surprising and really, I think, healing and beneficial was I did a medicine ceremony precisely on Mary Magdalene, to look at Mary Magdalene. And, I had questions and other people had questions. This was using sacred cannabis because it is legal here where I live, finally. And what came through, I was told, because people were like, well, was Mary Magdalene really married to Jesus? Were they actually real? Did they walk the earth? Ba-di-da-di-da, all these questions. And what I got was, the important thing is which storyline, history line resonates for you. That is your medicine. So everyone can have a different storyline, history line about these, and there might even be multiple literal timelines going on about these beings. We don't have to fight over it to establish one collapsed truth. Everybody gets to work with the timeline and the reality that gives them the medicine and the empowerment. And right now, what's rising up? This timeline about Jesus and Mary Magdalene being married, because that is the medicine we need for our times. And in a sense, Magdalene and all of them are a hive mind co-creation of larger and larger swaths of humanity. And as we co-create it, we become it. This is the depth, esoteric nature of what we're talking about here.
Oh my goodness. My tummy is doing butterflies and weird things, like enjoy. That is so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. This is a collective, this is what's called unity consciousness. Yeah. When we all start gathering on the same page about a timeline. Yeah. And then we literally strengthen that timeline, and then we strengthen the medicine of it, not only for ourselves, but for all of humanity.
Yeah. Oh, that gives me chills of the good kind. And ultimately, it's what this soul gathering is about, that each speaker will have their unique perspective. There'll be similarities or differences.
Right.
And differences. And it is the yes and, isn't it, that we come together. And honestly, just today on my walk, I was just hearing this line of, like, we step into this circle as equals. No matter who we are, we step in as equals with our part of the medicine, as you speak about. The story is the medicine. Which version are we going to choose?
Which version are we going to choose? And it is not a mistake to go with the version that gives us medicine. It is not a non-reality. It is not an unreality. It is a co-creative reality. That's the quantum physics, if you will, deepest esoteric layers of what we're up to. And it's thrilling when we understand, oh my gosh, we are the divinity. We are the co-creators of Magdalene and Jesus, So some people co-created a Jesus. Some people are co-creating a Jesus who never even was crucified.
Yeah.
There's going to be a whole bunch of medicine in that, right? Because maybe we've mined this crucifixion timeline enough and we don't need it anymore. That kind of thing. Like, have we gotten to the bottom of the barrel of what we needed to get out of the crucifixion scenario? And can we move on?
Yeah. Yeah, let's take him down from the cross once and for all.
Yeah.
We replace this with mother and child, or the three Marys, or love, this
That's
sacred
union
of love.
Exactly.
So powerful. So powerful.
Yeah. I mean, it really is, for people who can really tune into what's being said here, this is a world-rocking concept. There's a lot of power. It's about us all coming into our personal sovereignty, and for humanity coming into its collective sovereignty regarding these archons. So it's a journey.
It absolutely is, with so much depth and breadth as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So therefore, how do we become the living Magdalene with all that you have shared?
You become the living Magdalene by tuning into your goddess self and the information thereof, which is Magdalene, which is Sophia. And you connect in with that wisdom stream. And again, you ask for the information of what do you need in your life to be the living Magdalene Sophia. That's the simplest level. And then, if you want some ready-made practices, take the 7 Mysteries of Magdalene course, which, is connected to the free gift here. And I give at the end of each class really powerful meditations for accessing different things and activating different genetic codes. And you can also join our Mary and Magdalene Empowerment Circle for the 3rd Thursday each month by going to 7sistersmysteryschool.com. Those are just some resources that I'm providing. There are resources that many others are providing, but it's about tuning into and integrating the information into your body, mind, spirit, working directly with the Magdalene through the inner communication.
Yeah.
She'll tell you, she'll show you. You really ultimately don't need any intermediary.
Yeah. Yeah, not anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, never. That was just an illusion that we were told, a program to keep us under control by the archons, because it was much more convenient for them. And now we're like, oh, different time.
Yeah.
This story is taking a turn on planet Earth and beyond.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much for all you've shared. Do you want to say any more about your free gift and or what you have coming up? June, this is going out in summer solstice. So
okay, well, at that point, yes. Well, the free gift is really, talking more about these 7 beautiful mysteries of Magdalene that she helped bring to the planet, and how you can draw on them for your own soul's growth. That what I speak in that video really has a lot of energetic transmissions coming through. So you'll be activated through that, kind of. And there'll be more details about Magdalene and Mother Mary coming through that. and you'll be deeply inspired. And it will also explain to you what the course, the 7 Mysteries of Magdalene, are all about. So you can decide whether this is right for you at this time. And so that's already on demand. Now, as of this filming, as this comes out, Seven Sisters Mystery School, my school, will be in the midst of our newest venture, which is the Sacred Feminine Plant Medicine Academy. And we will be in the midst of our course to help people cultivate relationships with Blue Lotus, Mama Cacao, and Lady Cannabis safely, with integrity, and with intention, priestess intention. And men can come into it as well, although it is meant for women to be able to reclaim these medicines, reclaim this oracle space, and the knowledge of how to work with these plants for their own healing, for their edification, for the development of their spiritual ministries, should they wish, and for the service to the world. So we'll be in the midst of a cacao module when you would come in, but you can go back, listen and watch and participate. It's one module is teaching, and the other module is an online ceremony that we do together with that particular plant. So it should be really powerful for everybody. I've done numerous cacao ceremonies online, and it's a format that works really well. So on the days when we work with Blue Lotus and then Lady Cannabis, there'll be no problem, and it will actually benefit people, I think, to be in their own domain, exploring these particular medicines with some guidance. All right, so they can,
that's really beautiful.
Jump in, go to sevensistersmysteryschool.com, and you'll see it on our homepage there.
Yeah, gorgeous and very witchy as well. It's like reclaiming the medicine and the knowledge.
You know, the witches, the potions, the brews, what they put on the brooms, the green ointment on the face, these are all hallucinogenic substances that they had created in partnership with the plants, precisely to go on astral journeys, gather information for themselves and the people. It's a very high level priestess function. And I talk about in the 7 Mysteries of Magdalene course, how Magdalene was most likely connected with that as well. Okay.
Amazing.
So plants have always been our allies.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that all this knowledge is coming back into the public domain, and the work that you're doing and bringing that forward.
Yeah.
So magical.
Yeah, it really is. The time is now. The great awakening is upon us on a collective level in an unprecedented way, essentially, for us to really understand what's gone on planet Earth, what has been, hidden from us, and what we need to know so that we can liberate ourselves from these archonic forces.
Yes.
And have true lives of 5th dimensional Eden reality. That's what it's about.
Yes, absolutely. That is what it's about. Yeah. Thank you so, so much. I'll put links to where people can find you, to your free gift and upcoming courses in your speaker page, so people can connect with you. And thank you so much for coming back here again to have this amazing discussion. Like, wow.
You're welcome. Thank you. And I am available to serve people on a one-on-one basis too, if they want to know more or go deeper for themselves. So yeah, we're really helping people on a multi-pronged level over here.
That's gorgeous, gorgeous. Yeah. Thank you so, so much. And to everybody watching, we will see you again soon. Bye for now.